Next, please join me in welcoming Axel Singhofen. He's an advisor on environment policy, Greens EFA Group, and part of the European Parliament. And he'll help explain the relevant policy cycles that we should be thinking about when, if you're one of the people creating scientific outputs. So Axel, please take the floor.
Thank you, Paige. Good morning, everyone. Well, when we're talking about the policy cycles, well, Antonia gave already a great presentation or overview over key legislative instruments that we have in the Union, and all of which could address or could include a MAF. The key one that is being under discussion now is the revision of REACH. As we all know, it is several years overdue. The Commission committed in 2020, in the context of the chemical strategy, to come up with a revision of REACH by 2022, and one which would include the use of the mixture allocation factor. That was then delayed to 2023 because of internal disagreements, and then it was further delayed into the new legislature. So the new Commission committed to come forward with the review by the end of this, well, in the last quarter of this year. But it's become clear that because of internal disagreements on the overall direction of travel, that they could not agree over the impact assessment, and therefore they got a negative opinion on the impact assessment. So things are still being discussed. We're all kind of not knowing exactly where we stand, and we hear that they are likely to come up with something in the first quarter, but there's no guarantee on this. When it comes to MAF, of course, crucial discussions and decisions will be now, because it makes a big difference whether something is proposed by the Commission, and then, of course, then it's on the table, and then the legislator, so on the one hand, the 27 member states, on the other hand, the Parliament, they can form their positions on it and amend it, improve it, delete it, whatever. Unfortunately, it is very unlikely that the Commission will actually, despite its commitments from 2020, include MAF in its legislative proposal. As was also said by Antonia, this can be done in different ways. It can be done in the context of the main act, that you anchor it there, or you can also, it would be enough to also change just the Annex 1, and you have, if you change the main act, I'm simplifying a little bit, you need to have a proper co-decision procedure. If you're just changing the annex, this could be done in a comitology procedure. We are expecting that the Commission will come up, if they do come up with something, that they will come up with two separate pieces. So one, namely, to make the changes that really require a legislative change of the main text, and another implementing act which may adapt certain provisions in the annexes. But from what we were told, the MAF in the context of the impact assessment was discarded early on, so it isn't even properly assessed, so to say. That said, hopefully there will still be some information about it, so that would it allow the legislator to actually then say, but well, we want to include MAF. So once the Commission opens up a law, we're not, depending on the procedure they choose, but here the procedure they choose will not limit us to it, unless, of course, there's a decision within Parliament to limit us to the things that they propose, but that is, in this context, highly unusual. So it would be entirely possible for the legislator, so both for Council or for Parliament, to fill that gap and include MAF. But we can only amend the legislative proposal. We cannot amend the implementing act. So, but we could, although then it's getting really tricky, we could try also to amend the annex. Why not? Via the co-decision procedure. But it's a bit legal gray zone. But anyway, it's clear that there's a massive, so the policy cycle, I mean, REACH was adopted 20 years ago. Now hasn't been revised since. So this is a bit of a once in a lifetime opportunity maybe to get it, because REACH will not be revised again in 5 years or 10 years. Well, who knows, but it's rather unlikely. So this is the moment to get it right with regard to REACH. And that means it's, of course, I think NGOs and scientists and everyone have probably exhausted all their possibilities with regard to the Commission. So although the Environment Commissioner is Swedish, and I think she is sensitive to the arguments coming, especially from the Nordic countries, about the value of MAF, but there are so many battles out there that I think she will probably not necessarily invest very hard into that. Also in the current climate, it's just seen as a measure which will be, of course, lead to further restrictions on chemicals, because we need that in order to be better protected. But the current political climate, they don't want this. They don't want anything that a restriction is seen as a cost for the industry, and we don't want more costs for the industry. So please don't come with anything that is making things worse for the industry. Where benefits is forgotten. It's as sad as it is. So if, let's assume it's not in it in the Commission proposal, we as Parliament or Member States could try to get it in there. We'll have to see whether we get the majorities for it and whether it'll end up. Even if that was not successful, of course, there's still a possibility that the Commission in a few years' time just modifies Annex 1 via an implementing act to include the MAF. They would currently have the empowerment to do that. That may change, but but whether they will then have the political will to do that, I would guess it will take another commission before we get that. So not in this mandate. There is also a public consultation on an evaluation or potential revision of the cosmetics regulation. There is a summary of the stakeholder consultation is online by the Commission, and there MAF was one of the issues that was considered. We are having a chemical omnibus on the table where the cosmetics regulation is actually amended but deregulated. It would be a vehicle, and this one we are working on now. So there's no exact timetable, but it may be that most likely we will have the deadline for amendments in January. It could be a possibility to try to include the MAF, but one have to think that it's everything is going in the opposite direction, and there's no basis for it. So it may be a bit burning it because people are not ready for doing something which is not based on a Commission proposal. But it is, of course, something that could be done in the context of the chemical omnibus, or otherwise in the context of a potential review. And as in general, of course, policy cycle, again, the Commission takes sometimes years because it needs studies and so on. Well, like we see in REACH, it's more than 7 years now that they're working on a review. And so it's very important to influence things upstream. But once they are then on the table, then of course you have the legislative process where it's important to get in touch with the legislator, the two sides of the legislator. I think maybe there's also an evaluation of biocides. There's another omnibus is coming where they will revise pesticides legislation, but all of these attempts are going exactly in the opposite direction of lifting burden on the industry, so to say, anything that is making it easier for the industry to get chemicals onto the market the current political mood is not at all to protect human health or the environment or strengthen that. This is a very sad situation. So I think I leave it at that. It's a matter of checking what laws are being revised and what are our possibilities to influence. And then it's always good that there's a strong, both scientific and of course NGO voice out there making the case for example, MAF. Thank you.
No, thank you, Axel, for your honesty and your insights. We'll be anxiously awaiting Q1 of next year to see what happens.